Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel, our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, RTV.network.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Connect Caribbean Report here on Callaloo Media Alliance. My name is Carolyn Howell and I'm so pleased to be with you today. We've got a very interesting topic, building a unified Caribbean economy, analyzing the impact of the U.S. Virgin Islands CASE initiative. It's all coming up next on the Connect Caribbean Report with my co-host, Dr. Andre Thomas, CEO and Chairman of Pleon Group, and John Clendenning of the IC Group. Our special guest today is a really special one. This is Marjorie Smith. She is President and CEO of Smith Ferry Services. So that's going to be an interesting conversation in the spotlight. So coming right up in the Connect Caribbean world is Ambassador Thomas, CEO of Pleon Group Incorporated, which is the parent company of the Connect Caribbean Ferry Service. So stay with us and we'll all be joining you soon. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The countdown is on. In hours, President Trump revealing his plans for what he calls reciprocal tariffs during an event in the White House Rose Garden later today. And investors are anxious. Wall Street is still waiting to see the size and the scope of the tariffs. It's reported that administration officials are still working to finalize details of the levies and several proposals are still being considered. U.S. companies are hoarding cash ahead of the levies. Last month, U.S. companies announced the fewest stock buybacks in terms of dollars since the pandemic. Buybacks offer a crucial pillar of support for the stock market, which is already down significantly from February's all-time highs. And Walmart isn't backing down. It's trying to find a way to get around tariffs, so it's pushing its Chinese suppliers to cut prices by 10%. Sources tell Bloomberg the world's largest retailer hasn't backed down, even after Beijing officials summoned the store's executives last month to discuss the issue. Kimberly Adams, Bloomberg Radio.
Welcome to Connect Caribbean World. I have with me my partner, Anthony Wicks, as we work together to create this single Caribbean American economy and to really connect the region and leverage the core ingredients that we have that aligned properly would definitely stimulate growth in a very unstable, changing global economic environment. So welcome, Anthony. I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about, because what we are going to talk about has the potential to become a pillar in stabilizing economies within the region. And that's the creation of the Connect Caribbean Consortium. And you have worked tirelessly to make this happen. And so I'm eager to hear from you. I mean, what your thoughts are as we make this dream a reality.
Ambassador, it's always a pleasure spending time with you to just kind of have a healthy discourse on the subject matter. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to venture to say, while most people are, if you will, fearful because people don't like uncertainty, they don't like change, they don't like uncertainty, I believe that this is the moment for the Caribbean region and the role that it can play in this new dynamic and ever evolving situation that's taking place. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Today is Liberation Day, according to President Trump. Today is when he's going to what's going to go into effect is the tariff, U.S. tariff across the board. And that announcement obviously is pending until later today. But the markets are pretty much reacting and responding accordingly. Things are still pretty stable, but we don't know what it's going to look like later after he makes that announcement. But let me tell you why I'm going on a limb, Ambassador. And we say this many times in this program. When you talk about the borders of the United States, you have between Canada and the United States, that's border number one. Border between the U.S. and Mexico, border number two. The third border is the U.S. territory, being the U.S. in the Caribbean and the rest of the Americas. And the reason I'm saying this to you, and the reason I'm saying this is our moment, what the president is trying to do, he is trying to stimulate and spur the manufacturing of industries in America.
Absolutely.
He's pushing the envelope and basically saying, listen, we have for too long have exported American jobs, manufacturing, and we've seen the deficit of the off balance in terms of the trade between us and other countries. Absolutely. And I'm hoping geopolitically, what that's saying to the rest of the world, that we need manufacturing to return back to the United States. Absolutely. And the Virgin Islands, when it comes to the Americas and the rest of the Caribbean, we're going to play an instrumental role. Absolutely. When it comes to transportation, the movement of capital and access of capital, and the supply chain and technology. Those are the four pillars that are going to be fundamental to this reshaping, redrawing of what this new ecosystem is going to look like. And this is going to be the Virgin Islands' opportunity to stand up, sit at the table, and help mold and shape what that nearshoring and onshoring of American manufacturing again in America.
Okay, well said. You know, I happen to be a student of economic history. And whenever the economic system of the world changes, whenever the order changes, there are winners and losers. There are three sets of people. They're winners, they're losers, and you have those who used to be winners in the old system are just become winners in the new system. Okay, so these are the three sets of people that we have. I believe that in the old system, the region has more or less been a loser. But I believe in this new system, I totally agree with you that we have the opportunity to now become main players in the game. And I believe that the USVI, with its Made in America trade hubs, wow, that's going to be game changing. I believe that nearshoring, with the type of arrangements that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has been talking about, and floating that idea with Jamaica, floating that idea with Haiti that they could become manufacturing hubs also for the US, and actually stating that in his press conferences. That's major for us. So the nearshoring vision, and also the made in America vision that can happen by finishing goods in the USVI, that's major. And so I believe that there is an opportunity for there to be winners. Whenever every economic system has its winners and its losers. No system is perfect, but I believe this system gives us an opportunity to become players on the pitch.
Yes, we are forerunners in that regard. We are seeing the transformation of the region, and I am really honored to have been able to connect with Connect Carib and the Pillion Group and the work you're doing, because obviously you are visionary in your role, trying to help lead the region and reshape the region and redefine the region in terms of what value we bring to the United States as its third border. One of the things we talk about is energy. Energy is huge. No other jurisdiction in the Caribbean has the refining footprint and oil terminal footprint that is in St. Croix. I challenge anyone to go look throughout the Caribbean and look throughout South America, okay, with Guyana and Suriname. Just, if nothing else, I'm being the devil's advocate, if we have nothing else, the drill baby drill, which obviously Trump is a big proponent of, we have, from an infrastructure standpoint, we have one of the largest oil refinery in the Western Hemisphere on the planet. And so even though the refining is offline, we're now looking to restart the refinery. But the oil terminal, no one has as many oil terminals on their soil more than St. Croix. So we know at a minimum, we know that oil and energy is going to be a big play, and we bring that to the table. What's also most important, and we're going to talk about that more in connecting the dots, that we have a side by side, we have our free trade zone for when we deal with foreign actors, foreign countries and foreign companies and foreign goods and commodities. But our oil refinery and terminal is a tax-free zone. So oil commodities, whether raw, whether crude or refined, once they ship into St. Croix, comes in tax-free. When they leave St. Croix, it's tax-free. This is a unique dynamic that just simply doesn't exist anywhere else. And that's just the beginning, Ambassador.
Wow. Any words to say about that, Ambassador?
Yes, because what I'm thinking is what we explored in our last in the actual session we had before. What I'm saying is an opportunity for Caribbean manufacturers, Caribbean retail outlets, and Caribbean stores who receive their goods from China through supply and distribution channels in the US. That what can now happen, those supply channels can change from China straight to the USVI, and then Connect Caribbean distributes it to the individual countries. I think we need to develop a service like that.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. As always, such a great session. We thank you so much for your perspective, both of you, on this. Always a rich discussion with you, Ambassador Thomas. So that was Connect Caribbean World. Coming up next, we're going to have Connect Caribbean Report with John Clendening, who's going to be connecting the dots.
With the Bloomberg Small Business Report, I'm John Tucker. According to an annual survey by the Federal Reserve, more small business owners reported a decline in sales last year than an increase. This is the first time that's been the case since 2021. The Small Business Credit Survey shows business owners reported operational challenges, including rising costs and wages. The research was carried out between September and early November of last year, before the election. For the majority of firms, profitability remained elusive. Roughly 1 in 5 reported they broke even in the 12 months before the survey, and 35% said they posted a loss. The survey does predate the return of President Trump to the White House, which has raised a new set of issues for entrepreneurs. An index of small business optimism surged after Trump was elected, and many firms were enthused by his proposals to cut taxes and regulation. There's also mounting concern tariffs will raise prices and squeeze margins further. That's the Bloomberg Small.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Connecting the Dots. In today's episode with Connect Caribbean, we're exploring the Caribbean America's Single Economy Initiative. And it's a regional effort to promote the economic integration and cooperation among the Caribbean countries, as was talked about last session with Dr. Thomas and Mr. Weeks. Our discussion is going to analyze the potential economic benefits of the initiative, including the increased trade and investment opportunities and improved economic competitiveness. And so we're looking at this economic resilience and also going to focus on connecting the dots. What do we actually do because of the current economic environment worldwide that actually puts the Caribbean in the center of this controversy because of our unique situation? So the complexities and challenges facing our initiative, such as resistance to change, limited resources, the complexity of our regional issues that existed before this current crisis, and now we need to address these challenges and the importance of stakeholder collaboration and connecting the dots among the CARICOM and other nations in the Caribbean, including Suriname and Guyana, and the technical assistance, the capacity building support that we will look at among this region. So when we look at the CASE initiative itself and fostering greater regional economics and integration, I think the things that we're trying to connect are promoting a policy for harmonization and coordination among the countries, okay? We want to enhance the regional institutions and governmental structures. We want to support regional projects such as the ferry boat service that they talked about the last session, and moving people and understanding our unique capacity to have these 3 hubs in Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, with our separate customs jurisdiction and free trade zones and economic advantages that Anthony talked about. And so we want to encourage the people-to-people exchanges and cultural cooperation. So in the last session, we talked about the CARICOM Secretariat and the things that have been happening before. And what we're trying to do and connect the dots now is how does the U.S. Virgin Islands that has observer status in CARICOM actually move beyond that and can play a role in this unified economy. So with Anthony here, what I wanted to do was sort of, as we serve as a hub for regional trade and provide leadership and support, how can this region and this CASE initiative, which you're the author of, Anthony, how can we support the development and technical assistance and capacity building by working closely with the new administration in figuring out what are the ways that we can take advantage of this opportunity? And Anthony, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I'm going to use the South Korean as an example. I believe it was last week, if not last week, week before last, there was a South Korean contingency that, if I'm not mistaken, they're from the automotive industry. And I believe it might have been, if it wasn't Hyundai, it might have been Kia, not 100%. But it was one of the Asian auto manufacturer. Mm-hmm. And what the president did, he had this press conference, and he had alongside him those, the manufacturer, the South Korean manufacturer that has committed to now set up an auto manufacturing plant in the U.S. ahead of today's Liberation Day and the implementation of the tariff. And the reason they do that is because if they're manufacturing in the U.S., remember earlier what I said on connecting the dots, this is an attempt to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. shores. And that was an indication that the South Koreans understood that. And so they made an announcement that they were going to now expand their manufacturing footprint for automobiles in America. And they were going to invest, I think, about $100 billion in setting up this manufacturing plant. And I wanted to say, because this is not hyperbole, this is what we're talking about, and why the Caribbean America single economy and the CASE zone is important. What it simply means, whether you're in Latin America or the Caribbean, or coming by way of other global countries, whether it's Africa and Asia, we have the ability, because we are the third border, we have two things going for us. We have legislation, we have policy, and we have infrastructure to literally, it's like being shovel ready. I don't know if you've heard that term, shovel ready, where we have the ability because we already have the infrastructure in place, we now have the legislation and policy on our side in order to connect the dots to make what we're talking about realistic. And so what will happen, and what I guess the president will hope will happen, by imposing the increase in tariff, it reduces the deficit, our trade deficit with some of these countries, to finally bring manufacturing back. And the reason why the U.S. Virgin Islands is in such a unique position is because we have the ingredients and the element to connect the dots to facilitate that supply chain and the value in that supply chain.
Yeah, I think you're right, Anthony. And when we look at, I guess, the overall administration objectives, when we look at our GDP and what happens is, we've moved over the last several years to a service economy. So we are making and selling services worldwide rather than our manufacturing expertise, which we have largely moved offshore. So when we talk about the supply chain and the unique opportunity with the Caribbean Americas single economy, it's the supply chain. From my background, as you know, and expertise in supply chain, but those three aspects of the supply chain. There's the movement of the money, there's the movement of the assets and using these trade hubs, and there's the movement of the information. So when we look at how do we actually do that, that infrastructure and that investment is what we need to attract, because we have the pieces in place, okay, that you've talked about. But connecting the dots is going to mean, how do we look at an integrated Caribbean supply chain and logistics principles of postponement and the economic development laws that we have that says, if we can take these components and assemble them in the U.S. Virgin Islands with our manufacturing, it becomes made in the USA. So those are the strategic advantages that have always been there. We've had a financial banking desert in the Caribbean. We've had deserts as far as how do the small economies actually interact. And with the ferry boat service that we're talking about and the movement of people, and being that we're a third border, we should be able to seamlessly do that within the Americas and be able to take advantage of this opportunity. So connecting the dots is going to be important because we have to increase these trade and investment opportunities, and the economic competitiveness and stability is going to be dependent on what we do with policies and collaboration and bringing the parties together. So I think that you're right on task, Anthony, is that we need to be able to embrace and be incorporated into the national dialogue so that people see the advantages and how we are positioned in order to connect the dots of what the administration is trying to do.
We posted on VI Source the chart, the U.S. deficit chart, okay, and the four foreign actors that are literally in triple digit in terms of the deficit between the U.S. and these countries. First one, China, the biggest one, $295 billion deficit. Next one, EU, the European Union, $235 billion. Mexico, $171 billion. Vietnam is $125 billion. And the reason why this makes sense in what we're talking about, where we're able to leverage our partners, and I talked about South Korea earlier, the deficit between the U.S. and South Korea is $66 billion. You see the difference? That's double digit as opposed to triple digit. Our partnership with Taiwan is $73 billion. So clearly we have an opportunity to make a difference here. But let me just say this. We're not only talking about the transport and the transport and transportation logistics, but having the ability to make access to capital is one of the other major initiatives that's going to be in place here, because St. Croix is going to be that new emergent financial center hub where countries and corporations around the world are going to converge in St. Croix on this new financial hub to be able to access capital for them to build out their infrastructure. And we are truly at a good place in terms of our unique advantage and what we bring to that value chain, which we're calling the efficacy chain.
Thank you, Anthony. And Carolyn, welcome. Welcome to Connecting the Dots. And we've been looking at how do we establish this strong coordination mechanism to facilitate the dialogue. And that's what we need to do to connect the dots and the cooperation between and among the shareholders. We need to provide technical assistance in doing this, capacity building support for the Caribbean countries and our neighbors here. We need to support the advocacy and awareness and raising efforts to promote these incentives and the benefits that's going to happen within the region and the Americas. So encouraging particularly these private-public partnerships and dialogue and the cooperation that's necessary to address these regulatory and legislative things that Mr. Weeks talked about, and removing the inter-Caribbean trade barriers so that we can be part of this initiative is all about connecting these dots. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Anthony. You know, as always, you say it, it sounds so easy and it sounds so good, but I appreciate these conversations that keep moving the ball down the field. So
there's nothing easy about this at all. We've been at this. We're building blocking for 20 years, Carolyn. So it's been a long journey. There's nothing easy about this.
You make it sound easy, so we know that, but it has to start with conversation. Without conversation, there can't be action. So I appreciate this rich conversation with you too. We're going to be back in a moment, and when we do, we're going to be in the spotlight with our wonderful guest, Marjorie Smith with Smith Ferry Services Limited.
This is the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini. Another reminder of how challenging it is for home buyers. Bankrate says, on average, as a household, you need to earn about $117,000 a year to afford the median price home, and even more in Rhode Island, New Jersey, New York, Washington, Colorado, Massachusetts, California, and Hawaii. Bankrate analyst Jeff Ostrowski says one thing you can do is look for loans that don't require 20% down.
You don't have to have 20% to get into the housing market.
And he says the price price on a home may be a little bit more negotiable these days.
It's still a seller's market, but it's not that intense seller's market that we've seen for the past few years where there have been multiple bids and you have to offer more than the asking price to even be considered. That's loosening up. There's more inventory coming onto the market.
There are some places where it's a little cheaper. You need under $80,000 a year in salary in West Virginia, Iowa, Mississippi, and some other states in the South and the Midwest on average. That's the Bloomberg Real Estate.
Welcome. We are now in the spotlight, and it is my pleasure today to be bringing on Marjorie Smith. She is the president and CEO of Smith Ferries Limited. And it's really exciting to be able to talk to her because, you know, it's obvious Marjorie is a woman in this, what would otherwise be considered a man's world, if you will, if that's politically correct still to say. What we appreciate is that Marjorie is a wealth of knowledge, expertise, and efficiency in maritime industry, transportation, and logistics, both in the U.S. and in the British Virgin Islands and the Caribbean market. So, Marjorie, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Carolyn. The pleasure is actually all mine.
Well, I'm excited. This could not be more interesting. I've been learning more and more about the ferry services, but can you tell us when you got started or how Smith Ferry Services got started?
Smith's Ferry started actually, well, the company as it exists today started in 1986 with my father. He was an architect by trade. But he's always been into boat building, and I guess he just dragged his whole family along with him. So myself and my two of my brothers, my sister is more into finance, but we became captains and we ran with the company. And now that my father has passed, my two sons have taken up the mantle with me. We started in 1986 with one vessel. We grew up to 6 vessels in our fleet, and we were taken out by those dreadful storms of 2017. But now we're on our rebuilding, the rebuilding path. So we rebuilt one of our vessels and pretty much sold off the others that were either damaged beyond what we were willing to put into them. And my son, Captain Baines, who you met through video,
I met through video.
He literally rebuilt Bomba Charger. I mean, the help of his brother and some other crew members, but he learned how to weld. He learned how to electrical wire the vessel. Everything about Bomba Charger he did.
Wow.
And he brought her to life, and that vessel has been with us until last year. He got up and he said, let's build a new boat, you know. So we built a new boat, I-Legend, which is named in honor of my father. My father's name was Ira, and we feel that it's his legacy. So we named the vessel I-Legend, and she was delivered here to the Virgin Islands in February. And
she is beautiful. I also got to meet her, if you will. That beautiful boat via video. Was able to watch it on the YouTube channel. Extremely impressive. So can you tell me a little bit about your route, because it's a ferry service? So what specific routes do you take, and what kinds of things are you transporting?
Okay, we're primarily passenger, but we do cargo, especially right now while we're having some difficulties with cargo ships running in this area. So we do cargo up to about 80-pound pieces. That's it. After that, they really got to wait on a cargo boat. But we run between the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. So in the British Virgin Islands, we do a lot of inter-island, where we go from Tortola to Virgin Gorda or Anegada, and every blue moon to Jessamine Dyke. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, we do private charters to St. John, or in fact, just this weekend coming up, we have a private charter over to St. Croix with JROTC. So
Wow.
we're going to have all those high school children on board and going over to St. Croix. So again, we're primarily a passenger service, but we do light cargo when we have space available because of the need. So it's exciting now to see the dynamics as they unfold. And I'm really excited to become a part of this venture, because I see where we could really make a difference throughout the Caribbean, because intra-Caribbean travel is something that's been on my agenda for the last 20 years. It's just been a slow process.
That's okay, but it seems like you have what it takes. Obviously, the knowledge, and your company, the company that is owned by your family, is going to be 40 years old next year. That's a huge anniversary in maritime, and so congratulations on that. So as you're thinking about it, you said inter-island transportation, things like that, have always been on your mind, at least the last 20 years. So when you think about it, are there plans for you to continue to grow the fleet? Because this new impressive iLegend, that is one beautiful boat.
Thank you. And yes, we've been talking with the boatyard. It won't be at least another 2, maybe 3 years out, but we are going to continue to grow the fleet back to where it once was, because we have, in our heyday, have done trips to Puerto Rico, trips to St. Martin. So with the right vessels, we're able to do broader things.
Well, that's amazing. And the fact that you are all, when you said we all became captains, that's really impressive when you think about that. But understanding the need, that this inter-island transportation is really a very exciting thought. But you said, now I do know the iLegend can hold up to at least 149 passengers. Are you always running at full steam with full ships?
No, mostly weekends you'll see us getting up to there or close to there. Right now, the dynamics are such that I would say we pretty much maintain 50 to 60% capacity.
Excellent. That's really good. And so you mentioned also, at least I heard Captain Ricky Baines mention, that you're able to do this for charter, if you will. So is there a regular ferry service that runs certain hours, and then there's the opportunity to then get that if we were bringing a large sports team in, or if there was some sort of group? Is there a way to how would that not disrupt your schedule?
Well, because we have 2 vessels online, and we also have partners in the industry, we're able to pretty much serve anything. So private charters, yes, we do. iLegend, in fact, today is on a private charter. She took 50 passengers up to Virgin Gorda from St. John, and they spent half the day in Virgin Gorda. They're going to spend the other half in Jessamine Dyke and then come back to St. Thomas. So we do private trips, and we just manage by, we know what our set schedule is. So yes, we have a set schedule that goes between St. Thomas and Tortola, and anything outside of that, we're able to maneuver and just, do a lot of tours and private ventures. Yeah.
That's fantastic. You're obviously experts in the realm of this, and it's very exciting. But your thoughts around continuing to grow it and expand it are exciting when we think about what this entire program talks about, and even in the conversation with Ambassador Thomas, with Anthony, and with John. You're really going to be a critical point for all of this. So it's exciting to see what this looks like. And now that you are part of the advisory board for SETI Case, that makes it even more so. So I can hardly wait. I'll be in the Virgin Islands soon, and I hope I get an opportunity to be on that boat. So you have 2 boats in service as we close down. But how can people contact you? How would they get in touch with Smith Ferry Services?
Through our website, www.smithsferry.com. You would pretty much see most of what we do there. And from there, you can email us or give us a call here in St. Thomas, because that's where I'm based. And in the BVI, again, it's on our website as well. So www.smithsferry.com. That's the easiest way to do it. We are doing some intern programs this summer. Like right now, we have 3 students with us that are shadowing our captains and our crew and doing things. So we're always open for these type of discussions.
Oh, I love it. You know, you're amazing. It's great to know you and to know about this amazing family-owned business that's really making waves, if you will. So thank you for being our guest today. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to sneak back with us for Connected Voices, but at least thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing you in person and riding on one of those beautiful, beautiful boats. So thank you so much. When we come back, we will be doing our segment for Connected Voices. But thank you again, Captain Marjorie Smith.
Reimagine a world where the Caribbean is seamlessly connected, where our people, our cultures, and our economies move freely across the islands. This is Connect Caribbean, more than a ferry service. It's the heartbeat of a new era, an era where economic opportunities expand, where trade flows freely across our seas, and cultural exchange flourishes. We are linking businesses, empowering communities, and reigniting the hope for a truly integrated Caribbean. Together, we're shaping a brighter, more unified future for the Caribbean. Connect Caribbean, connecting our islands, our people, our future.
All right, we are back on Connected Voices. This is where we close out everything. I don't see Anthony anywhere. Oh, there we go. There's Anthony. The gang is all here. So gentlemen, I had the wonderful opportunity to talk with Captain Marjorie Smith, President and CEO of Smith Ferry Services. He is now on the screen. I'm going to give you a chance in Connected Voices to do the exact same thing. Have at it.
You're putting me on the spot.
No.
Them on the spot.
Well, before we do, I don't want to. This is live television, and the people in the Virgin Islands are eavesdropping on this conversation. Wonderful. So our partner, the VI Source, which we're on, I want to share with you a comment, and with the person, I know them, and they misconstrue my statement. So let me just share with you.
Okay.
It says, Ryan says, can't you see that when you align with Trump, it is a time to question what you're doing? Interesting. We need to put the protection in place for our community that Trump is taking away. As Trump dismantles the EPA, we need a local protection to ensure that our schools can safely operate. Our residents won't get oil raining down on them. We won't have a major explosion or disaster. And we all have clean air, clean water, and clean island. The refinery needs to remain shut. We have demonstrated over and over again that we cannot and will not operate the oil refinery safely. Let them learn from our mistake. And the reason I wanted to share that, because again, this is live television. The people in the Virgin Islands are watching it and listening to this interview. Ryan, let's get something. Let's kind of put things in context. I simply state the obvious. This is not me aligning my politics with Trump. It has nothing to do with this. The fact is, when we talk about natural infrastructure and man-made infrastructure, I simply state the obvious. There are assets and resources, Ryan, that we have in our possession that we are able to leverage, that when we look at the glass, we don't see the glass as half empty. We see the glass as half full. Okay. So, I'm not going to get into my politics and what I support, don't support Trump. That is not the issue. I'm speaking from a factual point of view, Ryan, that in order for us to pivot and to be able to sustain and maintain viability economically, we need to be realistic what resources and what tools we have in order to address the complex issue of how do we move and create economic prosperity for the U.S. Virgin Islands, especially when we've been absent from the rest of the region, not being actively involved and proactive in the economic ecosystem throughout the region.
Okay, Anthony. Well, thank you. And thank you for answering the question that came through from that listener or caller, the listener or viewer. So that was really, really important. Anything that you would like to add to Anthony's statement, Ambassador or John?
Okay, yeah. I would like to really comment on the partnership with Marjorie Smith and Smith Ferries, and to really share the fact that we have now created the Connect Caribbean Consortium. And what that means is very similar to airline consortiums like One World Alliance, where there is unified booking. We have already agreed on our reservation system. Obviously, can't discuss it here, right? But very soon, that anybody around the world will be able to book with Connect Caribbean and also be able to book with Smith Ferries, and we'll be able to move passengers from one ferry service to another, move cargo as well, and we're absolutely looking forward to that. And what we seek to do is to harmonize and work with other ferry operators, but Marjorie would be actually leading this effort with us, and we're very, very excited about this and what it offers to the travelers and the business community within the USVI and the wider Caribbean.
Yeah. I love that. That's excellent. And Marjorie, you alluded to it. I had asked if, in terms of growth, and you said you have partners in the region. Well, alike but differently. In our region, buses still do a lot of things for us as it relates to travel and tourism. And there's one travel company that literally can get you a vehicle anywhere in the world. And it's because they leverage those partnerships. So I was excited when you said that, because that gives you the bandwidth. You've got the incredible reputation, but because of having great partners, you're able to, we can trust you to do the booking, and knowing we're going to be taken care of as you pull in one of your partners to fulfill whatever it is we need. So that's good stuff.
Well, let me also add to that. So while we talk about the rest of the region and why Marjorie and I have the utmost respect for each other, I met her when I first moved back home as a banker and brought capital to the territory. And we've been knowing each other for 20 years. What I admire about her, and obviously her family legacy, is that they have been around for as long as I've been in the United States before I returned home, and they've done a yeoman's job in building out their family business. But there's another issue that is, if you will, that is an obstacle for inter-Virgin Islands economic prosperity. When it costs the same amount to take a flight on a hopper, on a plane, to go between St. Thomas and St. Croix, when it's a lot cheaper to sail on a ferry, and to encourage the movement of people and cargo. This is how we better, improve the flow of commerce in the territory between the U.S. Virgin Islands and, of course, the British Virgin Islands. What Marjorie represents, she represents both sides. She represents the U.S. side and she represents the BVI side. And now connecting and being part of the alliance, of the regional alliance, what we are aiming to do, the goal and the objectivity of what we're trying to do, is build out an entire marine network that will move people to allow the transport of goods a lot more cost effective and affordable for businesses to survive, where businesses and consumer can connect in a more efficient way.
Okay, that's good stuff. John?
Thank you, Carolyn. I think what's interesting for me is that we have two ambassadors on this Connected Voices, Ambassador Thomas and our special envoy to Taiwan, Mr. Weeks. And I want to separate the people from the politics, okay? And I think what we're doing today in connecting these things, these voices, is that the CASE initiative, the Caribbean America's single economy, is the issue. And we need to transform that economy with U.S. policy, not the people, the policy, and what's happening with the Panama Canal, what's happening with the Americas, the different countries, and understand those policies and how they affect us. Because we believe by collective effort in the Caribbean, the region can overcome these obstacles and achieve the initiative's goal. So we need to move forward and prioritize the stakeholder engagement, the capacity building like ferry boats with Ms. Smith, and the advocacy efforts to promote the initiative and its benefits for our region, not just a particular part of that region. So working together works, okay? And we can create a more prosperous, resilient, and unified Caribbean economy that benefits all of the citizens among us. So that's what we're about, and that's what we're doing in this Connect Carib. And we will get different voices of people with their parochial views and different opinions. And it's for us to connect these voices and figure out where do we go from here so we can actually get prosperity. Thank you.
What a good thought. Good thought. Marjorie, as you're listening to all of this, is there anything that you would like us to know more deeply about what you're doing and what your plans are?
Well, there's a lot that you have to observe when you hear the ambassador and Anthony speak, and you realize that outside of what I do personally, I'm realizing there's just such a bigger picture. But the role that I think companies like mine and the partners in our industry here can play is ensuring that we are ready for all the expansions, ensuring that we have the vessels that we need to serve not just cargo but people, to ensure that we raise up enough young people out of our schools into the marine industry. Captain's crew, getting them certified. So we have our work to do to ensure that we're ready not just for the continuity of our businesses, but to play the role in the bigger picture of inter and intra-Caribbean travel.
Wow. That really, really good points, really good perspective looking at that and how that all feeds into everything else. So I appreciate that. You thinking, yeah, that was pretty good, because that is exactly where my mind went. Because how can we ensure the next generation of this and make sure they're ready? So I love that. Love that thought.
We cannot grow the U.S. Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands economy without a reliable marine sector, without a reliable marine transportation infrastructure. We have seen time and time again since I've been here for 20 years. Yes, it's convenient to jump on a hopper on a plane and get over there conveniently, but it's cost prohibitive. We need to make the investment, and what this partnership represents with Smiths Ferry and Connect Carib is to be able to open up the market, to create critical mass, to build economy of scale, to afford businesses to not just simply rely on the U.S. Virgin Islands and British Virgin Islands economy, but to open up the rest of the Caribbean economy and play an important role to move people and goods throughout the region and throughout the Virgin Islands.
Wow.
Carolyn, I'd like to put you on the spot because, you're our host and you're in the DMV. You're at the heart of all of these things that are happening with the U.S. government right now. And so the spot is, you see what's happening with U.S. policy around the world. And now you're seeing how we're looking at the Caribbean Americas initiative for a single economy. How do you see that do we have an advantage if we take it?
Oh my goodness, you have all the advantage in the world. First of all, being nestled where you are, and now that you have willing partners that are here ready to collaborate, to connect, if you will, you can't always deal with what's happening across the water, but when you start in your own community, in your own island community, that's the power is in what people are able to do when they get together with their strategies. So having key players and those who are able to move things along, this is exactly right. This is what you need to do. You have to continue to build around what you're going to need. You keep an eye on what's happening in other places, but you're taking care of home. And this, she said 20 years ago, Captain Smith said 20 years ago, she was thinking about what something like this would look like. So now here she is at the forefront with, as you mentioned, 2 ambassadors getting ready to make it happen.
Great.
Opening up new markets. This is what the Caribbean America single economy represents. Local businesses, especially in St. Croix, are struggling. We see businesses closing left and right. We need to create new market opportunities for Virgin Islands businesses. Smith Ferry is going to be an important partner in that endeavor because why? She has the asset to move people and cargo. This is the primary objective. If we don't do this, if we don't create critical mass, if we don't create economy of scale, our businesses don't stand a chance. We need to open new market opportunities on both sides of the channel, and that's what Connect Caribbean represents with our partnership in how we create this new economic zone.
Wow, I love it. I love it all. You all have been amazing. Really, Captain Smith, it has just been such a pleasure to have you here, to see your commitment, to see the legacy of your father continue to grow, to see your sons in action. I'm going to go back and rewatch that video, but I hope I have the pleasure of meeting you in person very, very soon and continue the good work that you're doing there around transportation, transporting people as well as goods. Anything as we close, Dr. Thomas?
No, I am looking forward to our first reservation through Connect Caribbean.
That's
Exactly. Bravo.
I'm just seeing that. So
right.
it's going to be upon us very soon.
That's fantastic. Well, that's a great way for us to close out. We'll see you next week on Connect Caribbean. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world. All in one place, RTV.network.